Hello and a very warm welcome to Spotlight America TV, the blog. I'm Akhtar Khan. The other day I had a sudden bout of deja vu, you know, when you suddenly stop and think to yourself, wait a minute, I've been here before, and much to my annoyance, I had. I was umming and ahhing about how best to tackle this one. I thought to myself, well, should I just come out and say it, or should I be more diplomatic and try and create a more cohesive and coherent argument? Being the impartial person that I am, and I know that after this some of you will probably laugh at that, I decided to take the more logical approach. Okay, so I've got that out of the way. Now comes the juicy bit. For some time now, I've been taking a back seat and observing the political landscape here in America. I can tell you it's no Rembrandt or Warhol, not to do either of those artists a disservice by association to this subject. Anyway, so watch and collect all the facts and assimilate into a proper argument. And I have to say that I've tried and tried again to come to terms with what can only now be described as my bias. It's not something that comes naturally to me on this subject because I'm a conservative with a small c, I hasten to add. But I'm appalled at myself for coming to this conclusion. What am I talking about, or more importantly, who? I'm talking about the Republicans. Note to oneself, rather, don't forget to write to the producer of Saturday Night Live to create the Republicans, like the Californians, where everybody tells each other where to go and how to get there and the best route to take, except the White House, of course, as clearly no one in the GOP has any clue whatsoever where it is and how to get there. Now, when I decided to set up this blog as a preamble to the main program, I thought, well, how relevant is this subject to my target audience, the 18 to 25-year-olds? Well, actually, quite significant if you think in the first instance that a significant proportion of the electorate didn't vote for Obama, so they voted for the other guy, Mitt Romney, but also a large portion of those who did increase their vote for Obama came from the youth. Besides, this blog is about news and current affairs, and the Republicans have certainly been in the news before, during, and now well after the election. Now, there's a word I'm sure many Republicans would like to forget. But no sooner the election is over, the party has already started to look for its next man or woman who would lead them into the 2016 presidential election. The CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, was nothing short of a jamboree recently. Look, it's all great coming together and rallying the troops, being gun-ho about the future of conservatism, reinforcing of prejudices and ill-thought ideologies, but get a grip, you've lost the election, your man is not sitting in the White House, and rather than patting yourself on the back with cheers of whoop-whoop, you should instead go back to the drawing board and have a good, long, hard look at yourself. This is where the déjà vu comes in. For many years, the Conservative Party back in the UK have been left out in the cold by the electorate. Why? Well, because they were more concerned about themselves than they were about the people they were elected to represent. They had effectively lost touch and paid the price for it over and over again. Sound familiar? It was only when they managed to collectively reassess the fundamentals were they then able to gain power. Now, the GOP should take a page out of the UK Conservatives' books and learn from their mistakes. It's probably too much to ask, but the GOP need to face some harsh facts. 1. Stop deluding yourself and get real. 2. Take a good, long, hard look at yourself and see if there's anyone else like you around, and if the only people you can identify form the minority in this country, then you need to adjust. 3. Drop those conservative philosophical ideologies that date back some 200 years. A lot's changed since then, and that's my point. You haven't. 4. Stop trying to hijack the good values and claim them as your own. You don't have a monopoly on virtuous qualities, so stop hauling up that banner. It doesn't belong to you exclusively. I'm talking about family values. It's great that you stand for things like family values, but so do the Democrats, so stop going on as if it's some new fad idea. 5. Clearly unpopular then and still unpopular now are your policies. You have to admit when you're wrong and admit defeat. There's nothing wrong in saying we got it wrong, or that we need to rethink certain issues. It's human, and you're allowed to be human. And let down that stoic guard of yours and show that you're caring and sensitive without losing the essence and meaning of what it is you're trying to do. But instead, if you carry on thinking that you're right no matter what, then isn't that just pure arrogance? One senator did just that, Richard Portman. He was someone who was against same-sex marriage, showed compassion and understanding by doing a U-turn on the subject. That, I'm sure, embarrassed the hell out of a lot of conservatives who I wonder, if given half the chance, would actually have a different view on issues rather than towing the party line. That's not compassionate conservatism, it's plain common sense. 6. Typically, as happens at events like CPAC, there's bound to be some degree of infighting. The blame game is not the way forward. Neither is ridiculing others for a cheap laugh or trying to earn brownie points, Ms. Palin. Instead, wouldn't it be more prudent to learn from one's mistakes rather than firing salvos at your own fellow Conservatives? And 7, note that the political and demographic landscape has changed in America. There are more blacks, Hispanics, and younger voters who are turning their backs on you. And why? Well, because you turned your backs on them and instead chose to focus on your core group of supporters. And that's a fundamental problem. Your voter base is disappearing. You're failing to recruit new blood. And those you do don the same coat and preach the same mantra. It's boring. That's not progress. And if you fail to move with the times, then you'll go out like the dinosaurs that you are. Where's the change? Where's the fresh ideas? Where's the new blood? Your old, outdated, baseless ideas, your people live in the past, and you have a romantic notion about America. Stop, look, and for once, listen. You'd think losing a presidential election not once but twice, it would make you sit up and take note. It's quite clear that you've done nothing of the sort. You think by controlling Congress, you're in effect in control of the country. By dragging your heels on policy issues, you've demonstrated that you're trying to hold on some semblance of power, albeit deluded. Trying to provide a check and balance to the president is certainly what you'd expect. That is, after all, your role. But you're not convincing anyone. It's quite plain to see that you're trying to justify your existence by opposing virtually every move the president makes for the sake of opposition and not because you believe he's wrong. Firstly, he was elected commander-in-chief by the people. Secondly, as he's patriotic, he's as patriotic as you are, and by that I mean, do you seriously think he would introduce policy measures that would harm the nation and its people? And thirdly, by trying to prevent a bill from passing the House to aid the victims of Hurricane Sandy, it's tantamount to your sulking. For example, by not inviting a fellow Republican like Governor Chris Christie to CPAC, you've demonstrated that you would rather see the people affected by the hurricane suffer because of your bias, prejudice, and ill-founded conservative ideologies. Just let me reiterate. You have allowed thousands of homeless and destitute people to endure further suffering rather than pass a bill which would have provided aid immediately, all because Chris Christie worked alongside the president to help those in need, the people of this country. The same people who will think twice about voting Republican Party again. On your part, that's pure spite and downright childish behavior. Before I conclude this subject, I would challenge any Republican out there to a one-on-one debate on this show to level the playing field. Because right now, it's Democrats 1 and Republicans 0. As always, I'd like to hear from you. What do you think the current administration should do on the subject of the Conservatives? Hey, can they do anything on the Conservatives? I'm sure they'd like to. You can email us on spotlightamericatv@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter, coming up on your screens right now. But do write to me if you have a view on this subject. I'd love to hear from you. But until next time, from me, Akhtar Khan, and the rest of the team, goodbye and thanks for watching.